Hey, what's going on, guys? Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking us on out. Much appreciated. If you guys could, subscribe here. Subscribe also to 560 WQAM's YouTube page. And you can watch the Tobin and Leroy show every single weekday live, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Check us on out. All the fun that we got coming up. We got some fun interviews coming up as well. So tune in for that. Much would really appreciate that. Going to get my boots polished up. It's boots on the ground on Sunday night at the Heat's house, as we'll be heading on down to the Kaseya Center for Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Cannot wait, and a big game for Miami as they can put a death grip on this series if they're able to take the Celtics out. Curious to see. I mean, the Celtics have been a good road team in this playoff, so I don't think that this one is in the bag yet. I do think I obviously feel very good about where the Heat are at because I picked them to win this damn series. So confidence is sky high right now, but I don't think that I do think you're going to get, I would imagine, another big time shot from Boston. I do think that Miami, one thing that I've been impressed with them in this playoffs, you know, people have talked about a lot of things about the Heat's regular season, the postseason, and you can understand that they just haven't been watching them. But one thing that I am interested, this is the best position Miami has really been in the playoffs. You know, this is a 2-game lead. They did have this going into Game 5 against Milwaukee, and we saw Miami came out with a killer instinct still and were able to gentlemen sweep the Milwaukee Bucks. So they have not had this fat cat syndrome, this laissez-faire, we're going to be fine. They have not had that in the postseason. They have come at everything with a very, very big killer instinct, move on to the next one. I've been very, very impressed with that because the one thing with this regular season that you could see with Miami was it wasn't a talent thing. Like, you could just see an attitude on certain games when they would turn things on and off, and that's why they ended up, I think, in a lot of clutch games, which in a way has really, really benefited them. But I talked about this a little bit in the last video. I talked about this today on Heat Weekly with Tommy Ty, because Tommy had me coming on to talk about Caleb Martin. But I really, really liked what I heard from Erik Spoelstra in the press conference yesterday, because it was being brought up about the undrafted guys and why he finds it almost to be disrespectful that continues to be the label that's put on them. And I'll give the sound for you here, but I was really happy to hear Erik Spoelstra come out and really rip not only this reporter's question, but just the general attitude towards the Heat's players.
You've obviously been asked a lot about the undrafted story and having so many players along those lines.
Yeah, that's kind of played out.
Well, yeah. my
but they're
question.
Not even like that's so disrespectful to keep on talking about that way. Like, Gabe has been with us. He's a veteran.
Yes.
He's a seasoned veteran. I have not even bothered to look at the playoff experience, but he's got as much playoff experience as anybody in this postseason. He's been with us since the bubble. Like, that storyline is over. These guys have proven themselves as competitors and winning players.
I just love that from Erik to come out there and put it, on it. Like, you guys are sitting here and you're acting surprised about these guys and what they're able to do. First of all 3 of these guys were contributors last year in the Heat's postseason. So it's not like Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, and Caleb Martin are strangers. It's not like they just have come out of nowhere. Last year, you had Trae Young telling people about Gabe Vincent. Like, you remember there was a graphic where they didn't have Gabe Vincent in there, and even Trae Young was like, it's pretty disrespectful not to have Gabe Vincent up there. I mean, the Gabe Vincent's been starting for this team now for a while. Max Strus has been starting for this team, and, you could just see those 2 guys in particular are always kind of tied at the hip. And the type of confidence that they play with. I mean, think about this game yesterday, which, by the way, they came out and they said that Jason Tatum foul that Gabe Vincent got, the one where he fouled Jason Tatum with a 3-point shot, as was said yesterday, complete bullshit. Gabe Vincent did not foul him. That Jason Tatum kicked out his leg. But just the stones on Gabe Vincent, handsome stones on Gabe Vincent to go out there and take a shot right into Jason Tatum's face after that play happened. Like, you would people would say, I would expect that from Jimmy Butler. Maybe you'd expect that from Bam Adebayo. You expect that from an all-star. But when Jimmy says that this team has dogs, like that these guys are just so competitive, they're killers. That's what he means. Like just the idea that Gabe Vincent would go up the floor after what could have been a very critical error and cost the Heat. He's like, I'm going to go get this back. And he did. So these guys they're just good players. Like Gabe Vincent's going to make a whole lot of money. Max Strus could make a whole lot of money this offseason. Caleb Martin, thankfully the Heat locked him up to a nice deal, because could you imagine the kind of money that Caleb Martin would make after this playoffs? And with Caleb, it's just, that dude's always breathed confidence. I remember asking him in the locker room this year about switching from starting lineup back to the reserve role, basically when Kevin Love came here. But he was, it was such a scrutinized thing all year about replacing PJ Tucker with Caleb Martin. And he's not a pure power forward. He's very clearly much more a wing guy. But it's not like Caleb Martin was having a bad year at all. This guy was out here and was fantastic all season and was having to wrestle with bigger guys and was having to try and produce the way he is. It's not like he wasn't producing, but it is very clear that that spark plug role off the bench is just so suited for him every which way. Like he's just such a pace changer, an energizer bunny, and just the confidence that he's playing with now. That's the thing. You look at these guys and everybody just wants to talk about undrafted. They're talented and they are dripping confidence right now. And I think almost in a weird way, I think Duncan Robinson is too this playoffs. I think that's been a noticeable thing. Duncan's one who's, gotten his money and is certainly, I think you could see Duncan wears his confidence on body language maybe more than other guys do. With I think with Caleb, I think with Gabe, I think with Strus, it's much more always the same. And Duncan, I just think you could see it on his face a little bit more. And I don't know, there's just a little bit more of like there's just like a little bit more of a you to Duncan Robinson and how he's carrying himself in these playoffs. And I think it probably is playing with a little bit of a you, and that's also to the Heat too, for like taking me out of the rotation, replacing me with Max Strus. There's like an edge to him. I think there's an edge to Duncan Robinson. But I just think it's crazy that Erik Spoelstra has to continue to come out here and defend a couple of things. And I think if anything, what it should say is you think about all these teams that are out here tanking for ping pong balls and, draft picks and all that stuff. And I get it. That's the new currency in the NBA, and people want 5 draft picks for a trade now. It used to be 2 draft picks. It was a monster haul. Now you have to get 4 draft picks. You have to get the Rudy Gobert deal. And here are the Miami Heat. They're filling their roster out with just great scouting and finding great characters who they know will suit them. The Heat always say they're not for everyone, but these guys, they just all seem to suit. And it just seems to be just a perfect blend. But to continue to bring up where these guys have been drafted and to make that part of the story, or like, okay, but like, have you guys seen what these guys are capable of on a floor? Gabe Vincent, picking guys up and guarding guys. Max Strus seemingly being a Tatum stopper at certain points in this series, being out there catching lobs, going to the rim, being a catalyst in the third quarter. It's not like this guy's just been a spot up shooter. It's not like you got like Steve Novak out there. And Caleb Martin, I mean, this guy's always played with like a demeanor about him. But think about that, man. Like, think about being a guy, you're on a team with your brother, and your brother gets, he's the one that stays. You find this new home, and, now he's the one who's now been in back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals, but he's hitting 3-point shots in Giannis's grill, face palming it. He's, going to the rim and attacking, Robert Williams and Al Horford and doing crazy reverse layups between them, coming up with big turnovers. Really was a huge part of the Heat's turnaround yesterday. And you got to think about this, like with Tyler Hero getting hurt, it's not, maybe that's helped the Heat in some ways defensively because people will try and target Tyler Hero. Okay, I'll hear that out. But the guy's still a hell of a scorer. And the Heat's one of the Heat's best creators. And you think about what Caleb Martin has done with that, just that determination to get to the rim and kind of create something out of nothing. Like, think about how many end of the shot clock fadeaway jumpers Caleb Martin is hitting. Think about how many of these just, crazy moves that he's putting at the basket. That's typically Tyler Hero's role. Like, can Tyler make something out of nothing? Can he make chicken salad out of chicken bleep? And he has. I think that's just been such a tremendous quality with Caleb Martin. And so, yeah, man, I don't know. Seeing how people are covering this team, Jimmy has for sure gotten his flowers, which he deserves. And by the way, as I may just say as an aside, the picture with him and Grant Williams, the face-off, is one of the coldest pictures like ever. I mean, that, Jimmy put it on his Instagram today with the caption six wins away from a championship. But my God, I mean, that it's, that one needs to go in the tunnel for sure. I mean, that was just such a cool moment yesterday. And, it was funny because you remember we talked about in this series, Malcolm Brogdon had the quote where he's like, they really out physical everybody, but that's not going to happen to us. Like, that was a proclamation the guy made. And I think Jaylen Brown actually said yesterday after the game that the Heat did out physical them, which is pretty hilarious. And good to see them in tune. But yeah, anyway, getting back to my point, I think the coverage is really like Jimmy's obviously gotten his flowers. I think Spo has gotten a lot of his flowers finally, which, by the way, I'm glad that he is because, this guy spent so much of his career getting, lambasted by the media, saying that he's just along for the ride. The lights were too bright. Hell, had some of his own players trying to sabotage him. This guy had to coach. This is another thing. It's not like this is Erik Spoelstra's first rodeo of coaching undrafted guys. You think about, the number of guys that he's been doing this with, with Tyler Johnson and Roddy McGruder and all of these characters that he has been trying to, and guys who were cast off in second chance guys like Dion Waiters, who was cast aside, James Johnson, who was cast aside, and what he got out of those guys, the kind of riches those guys got. I'm glad that Erik Spoelstra is getting his just due. And so for sure it deserves, but people keep just looking at the Heat like that Jimmy's doing this with bums. And one, I think it's a disrespect to Bam Adebayo, who's a multiple time All-Star. And then I think it's a disrespect to Caleb Martin, to Max Strus, to Gabe Vincent, to Duncan Robinson. It's funny, this is a team that has, Kevin Love and Kyle Lowry looked upon as kind of the leaders. Lead us, Kevin. Take us there. Kyle Lowry's looked upon as the QB1 to keep everything organized. But, with their age and I think some of the quick turnaround, you could see the ups and downs with those two. And it seems with these guys, and they always say like role players don't play as well on the road, but these guys just stay even keeled throughout the whole thing. And that's what's just been so impressive about them. So, and it is funny, I'm not going to lie, like seeing the Knicks fan come out here, I'm seeing on Twitter them photoshopping Gabe Vincent jerseys when they're like, oh, we got the deeper team, we got the better team, Celtics, we got the deeper team, we got the better team, we got it so deep. Well, I guess, if your team is deep, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it certainly isn't looking that way right now because, you guys are sitting here already scrounging for answers 2 games into this series at Miami. They're getting stuff from their guys. So it's a beautiful thing to see. Can't wait to be boots on the ground on Sunday night for Game 3. Looking forward to seeing what Miami does as they return to a place where they have had a lot of success at the Kaseya Center.